Okay. Okay, people, welcome back to another video. This is our 12th video on our channel, and recently I saw we have 10 subscribers. I'm not sure, but in the last video, I think we only had 9 subscribers. So whoever has subscribed is awesome. Yep, like if I pause this, go to 1080, 9 subscribers. So someone has subscribed to our channel. Thank you very much, whoever it was. The thing is ki we cannot see the subscriber. The last subscriber we can see is VD Tech. And ironically, or not ironically, but amazingly, VD Tech actually subscribed to us on 20th October 2025, which is crazy because that is exactly my birthday. 20 October is my birthday. So that is crazy. Yeah. So we have 10 subscribers. Crazy work, people. No views on the last video, but that is fine. We don't care about it. We are just trying to learn for future people and people who will be watching this in future. So last time we were doing dive into pen testing, and then we deviated to introduction to offensive security. Today I'm thinking that we complete it all. We complete dive into pen testing and introduction to offensive security both, right? Because this is uh, even though it is a 1 hour topic, I believe we can cover it if we complete it fast enough, right? So let's try to do it. If we can't, we can't, but at least we tried, right? So yeah. Okay, offensive operating system security. This room introduces users to operating system security and demonstrates SSH authentication on Linux. Every day you see a smartphone or a laptop or almost any type of computer, you interact directly or indirectly with an operating system. Operating system include MS Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android, Chrome OS, and Linux. But what is operating system? To define operating system, we need to visit one's computer term, hardware. Computer hardware refers to all the computer parts and peripherals that you can touch with your hand. Hardware includes the screen, the keyboard, the printer, the USB flash memory, and the desktop board. As shown in the figure below, the desktop board contains many components, in particular central processing unit, CPU, and memory chips, RAM. Although not shown in the image below, the desktop board is usually connected to a storage device, HDD or SSD. Uh, the desktop board is the main part of the computer, and all the other pieces of hardware from keyboard and mouse to screen and printer connect to it. However, hardware components themselves are useless. If you want to run if you want to run your favorite programs and application, we need an operating system to control and drive them. Okay. Software is programs and operating system. Hardware is the basic hardware. You already know. The operating system is the layer sitting between the hardware and the application and programs you're running. Example programs you would use daily might include a web browser such as Firefox, Chrome, messaging app, Signal, WhatsApp, and Telegram. All the programs and application cannot run directly on computer hardware. However, they run on top of the operating system. The operating system allows this program to access the hardware according to specific rules. Some operating systems are designed to run on laptops and personal computers such as Windows 11, Mac OS. Other operating systems are designed specifically for smartphones such as Android and iOS. These are also operating systems intended for servers, example MS Windows Server 2022, IBM AIX. I have never heard of IBM AIX. I have heard for and Oracle Solaris. I've heard for this too. Heard of this too, but not this. I do want to know what this is. Zero plan downtime for system maintenance. Power servers offers secure, scalable, cost-efficient platform for mission-critical workload in regulated environment with 99.9999% uptime. Hybrid cloud integration. Wow, this is crazy. So in the whole year, it would only go offline for 5 minutes or 3 minutes, maybe less. Wow, I had no idea this was an operating system. This looks very cool. I would love to work on this in the future. Near zero downtime. Crazy. IBM has their own servers. That's amazing. Finally, there are operating systems see, this is what I mean, first of all. In the last video, as I said, that TryHackMe is a great platform. It is a great platform. Stop shitting on it. Finally, there are operating systems that you can use on a personal computer and server. One example is Linux. The image below shows the popularity of the different operating system used to browse the internet according to stat counter based on the data collected during January 2022. Windows is mostly, Android is more than Windows. That's of course obvious because PCs are expensive than phone. And yeah, wait, where is Linux? Should I just consider Android as Linux? That is stupid. OS X? Hmm, maybe. Unknown. This is fucking Tor and shit, bro. This is Tails OS. Your smartphone might be running Android or iOS, and you have plenty of private data on it. Example include, yeah, of course, e-banking, password saved in web browser, even notes, email client, private photos, private conversations. The list of confidential and private data goes on. You don't want someone you don't trust to open your phone and go through the photos, conversation, and apps. Hence, you need to secure your phone and its operating system. The same goes for your laptop, computer running Microsoft Windows or Mac OS Linux. Your computer will most likely contain plenty of information such as confidential files, uh, private files, email programs such as Outlook, etc., passwords saved in a web browser, yes, copy of digital camera photos, of course. The list can get very long depending on the type of user, and considering the nature of the saved data, you want to ensure that your data is secure. When we talk about security, we should think of protecting three things: confidentiality. You want to ensure that secret and private files information are only available to intended person. Integrity, it is crucial that no one can tamper with the files stored on the system or while being transferred on the network. Availability, you want your laptop, smartphone to be available to use anytime you decide to. CIA triad, right? This is a CIA triad. In the next task, we will discuss common attacks against these security pillars. Wow. Which of the following is not an operating system? Thunderbird. Okay. And it's just crazy that we just heard about AIX. If I did not read this particular paragraph, I would have probably gone with AIX. Obviously, they give the dashes that saying that this is not the AIX, but this is the thing. I have never heard of AIX, but now I know that AIX exists. So let's go about common examples of OS security. As you mentioned in the previous task, security is concerned with attacks like confidentiality, integrity, availability, CIA. In this room, we will focus on three weaknesses targeted by malicious user: authentication and weak password, weak file permission, malicious program. Authentication and weak password. Authentication is the act of verifying your identity, be it local or remote system. Authentication can be achieved via three main ways: something you know, such as password or PIN code; something you are, such as fingerprint; something you have, such as phone number via which you can receive SMS messages. Since passwords are the most common form of authentication, they are also the most attacked. Many users tend to use easy to guess password or same password or many websites. Moreover, some users rely on personal details such as date of birth and name of their pet, thinking that this is easy to remember and unknown to attackers. However, attackers are aware of the tendency among users. The NCSC, National Cybersecurity Center, has published a list of 100,000 common passwords. Let's look at the top 20 passwords. I don't know what QWERTY is. Why everyone use QWERTY? What the fuck is QWERTY? QWERTY is the standard. Oh, it's QWERTY. Oh, lol. I never thought about this. Seriously, never. It's QWERTY. It's just the first five letters. Wow. Oh my god. I used to think this is something, specific to some show or something, but no. Wow, this is a common password. 1 Q 2 W 3 E. Yeah. QWERTY, then it's the full keyboard. Dragon, lol. Monkey D dragon. We can see that 1, 2, 3, yeah, are on the list. Dictionary words such as passwords, I love you, and are commonly used. Words not in the dictionary include QWERTY, this. These seemingly complex passwords are very predictable as they following the keyboard layout. Exactly, they just told us QWERTY. Hmm. In brief, if the attacker can guess the password of any of your online accounts, such as your emails, so they will be able to gain access to your private data. Therefore, it is vital that you choose complex password and use different passwords with different accounts. Weak file permission. Proper security dictates the principle of least privilege. In the work environment, you want any file accessible only by those who need to access it to get work done. On personal level, if you are planning a trip with family or friends, you might want to share all the files related to the trip plan with those going on the trip. You don't want to share, sorry, where were we? You don't want to share such files publicly. That's the principle of least privilege, or in the simpler terms, who can access what. A weak file permission makes it easy for adversary to attack confidentiality and integrity. They can attack confidentiality as weak permission allow them to access files they should not be able to access. Moreover, they can attack integrity as they might modify files that they should not be able to edit. Access to malicious programs. In the last example, we considered the case of malicious program. Depending on these type of programs, it can attack confidentiality, integrity, availability. A Trojan horse. Some types of malicious programs, such as Trojan horses, lol, give the attacker access to your system. Consequently, the attacker would be able to read your files or even modify them. Some types of malicious programs attack availability. One such example is ransomware. Ransomware is a malicious program that encrypts a user's files. Encryption makes the files unreadable without knowing the encryption password. In other words, the file becomes gibberish without a decryption, reversing the encryption. The attacker offers the user the ability to restore availability, regain access to the original files. They would give them encryption password if the user is willing to pay the ransom. Which of the following is a strong password in your opinion? Of course, the answer is I love you. I'm just kidding. But yeah, learn more. Because this was the common one, this was the common one, this was the common one, this is the new one. This is a strong password, to be honest. One capital letter, numbers, and like two capital letters, numbers, three small letters. Yeah. Ooh, now we get to do practical. I love this part of the, I don't know what do we say, chapter, I would say. Let's just start the machine before we do anything. Oh no, we need attacker box maybe. I'm just gonna start the attacker box. We will probably not use the attacker box. In one typical attack, the attacker seeks to gain access to a remote system. We can accomplish this attack by tricking the target into running malicious file or by obtaining a username and password. We will focus on the latter. After discovering a username, we will try to guess the password. Furthermore, we will try to escalate our privileges to system administrator. This account is called root on Android, Apple, Linux system, while on Windows, this is called administrator. The accounts root and administrator have complete unrestricted access to the system. In this task, we'll try to hack into a Linux system. We assume that you have never used Linux system before. That is amazing. You are already assuming that I have never used a Linux system before. And this is a free okay, this is a premium one. But still, this is still great for teaching purposes. Start the attack box by clicking on this. We did that. Start lab machine. We did that. It usually takes a minute or two to fully load. Okay. On the attack box, start the terminal. Yeah, okay. We will cover the following commands as such this. We hired to check the security of certain company. When we visited our client office, we noticed sticky notes with two words, Sammy and Dragon, on one of the screens. Let's see if Dragon is Sammy's password on the lab machine. From the attack box terminal, we will try to log into Sammy account by executing SSH, Sammy this. The remote system will ask you to provide a Sammy's password. Dragon. So let's do that before we do anything. The first time we connect to server over warning or SSH keys, are you sure want to continue connect with a yes? Please note the following when they entering password or SSH. When you SSH, you won't see the password. They genuinely are explaining shit. So, you know, they're explaining it like when you do to a child. And that is amazing. This is the very basics of Linux and SSH, and they have explained it in one paragraph. So let's do this, right? So we know that Sammy had the password of Dragon because they have written it on their screens. So let's try it, right? Uh, Attack box connecting. What the hell? It is still turning on or what? Okay, that's our attack box. I'm gonna full screen this. I'm gonna remove it from here. Yeah, so that's our attack box. Let's open the terminal. And we can SSH as Sammy. So before we SSH, I would like to always ping first, and we can reach the machine. That is great. Let's do SSH Shammy, and they said to do yes. Then DRAGON Dragon, and we are in. We are, who am I? We are Sammy. So we are into the system. We are an unprivileged user. We don't have any sudo permissions or anything. We have a password.txt. Yeah, Sammy Dragon. Okay. So let's see what they are saying to do next. The interaction and drag box shown below. Yes, we have logged in. Amazing, it worked. Let's confirm that we are logged in as Sammy using who am I. We did that. Should return Sammy. To list the files in current directory, we can use ls. Yeah, cat file name for short concatenation. This command will show all the files in current directory hidden. If you want to display the cat from any text files, you can use the command this. The command will print the contents of the file on the screen. In the terminal below, we see the usage of 4 commands. Yes, we did that. In our brief introduction to Linux, the last command that we cover is history. This command prints the commands used by the user. We have learned about 2 other usernames that can access the attached machine. They are Johnny and Linda. We know that both of these users have little regard of cybersecurity practices. Lol. We can use several ways to guess the passwords of these 2 users. Here we list 2 approaches. If you are not logged in as Sammy or any other user, you can use SSH Johnny and manually try one password after the next to try which one works for Johnny. If you're logged in as Sammy, you can use Sue dash Johnny and manually try one of the passwords which works for Johnny. Based on top 7 password, let file Johnny password. What is the password of user Johnny? So it could be QWERTY, by the way. Okay, it's not. Okay. So obviously for this we should use Hydra. We should have Hydra. We do have Hydra, right? But it's just 10 passwords. Is it 10 or 20? It is 20. Okay. And if I search for top 20 default top 20 most common passwords list. Actually, why are we even doing this? If we go ls user share word list rocku, we do have rocku, right? Let's try this. Hydra check l. The user we have is Johnny, I think. I'm not sure actually. It's Johnny. So Johnny, and the password list is user, what the hell, user share word list rocku, and then we just SSH them. We just SSH the attack to this. Let's see if we can do this. Sure, bro. Let's just do T4. Come on, go. Attacking SSH. So rocku should have the password of this. Yeah, it does. Look. and we have access, right? We did not manually do it because always try to automate the attack, right? Because if I would have typed 20 passwords one by one, it would have taken us forever, right? It would have taken us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was the seventh password, but still 7 tries is a long one, right? So the password is ABC123. We hacked it. Hmm. Practical. And then we just paste the password here. Oh, ABC123. Once you logged in as Johnny, use the command history to check the command his Johnny has typed. We expect Johnny to have mistakenly typed the root password instead of the command. What is the root password? Let's try. ABC123. Okay. Sudo tech L. We need his password. ABC123. Yeah. User may not run sudo, but he probably tried sudo password. What is cheese, I wonder? Mass produced cheese. What the hell? Coffee, same thing. Let's just go history. And we see notes, coffee, cheese, then W, this LS, happy hacking. Okay. So this is the password. So root. We are root. We are in root directory. Great. So that is the password of root. Display on the flag. Yeah, of course. Cat flag.text. You got root. Great. Yeah, so that was the operating system security. Amazing. Let's turn this machine off. Shut down now. That machine is gone. I love doing that. Uh, what else do we have? Yeah, dive into pen testing. Um, introduction, introduction to offensive security. Now we have network security. So let's do that. Learn about network security, understand attack methodology, and practice hacking into a target server. Great. Wow, look at this. A computer network is a group of computers. Okay, hold on a second. See, that was a 1 hour box, but we have it in Okay, enough. A computer network is a group of computers and devices connected with each other. Network security focuses on protecting the security of these devices and links connecting them. In more precise term, network security refers to devices, technology, and processes to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of a computer network and the data on it. Network security consists of different hardware and software solutions to achieve the set of security goals. Hardware solution refers to the devices you set up in your network to protect your network security. They are hardware, so you can literally hold them. A hardware appliance might look like something in the image below. Ooh, we are at firewalls. Example of hardware appliance include firewall appliance. The firewall allows and blocks connection based on the predefined set of rules. It restricts what can enter and what can leave the network. Intrusion detection system. An IDS detects system and network intrusions and intrusion attempts. It tries to detect attackers attempt to break into your network. Intrusion prevention system. An IPS blocks detected intrusion and intrusion attempts. It aims to prevent attackers from breaking into your network. Virtual private network con- concatenator appliance. A VPN ensures that the network traffic cannot be read nor altered by third party. It protects the confidentiality, secrecy, and integrity of the sent data. On the other hand, we have software security solutions. Common examples are these run on a hardware, but they are also software. But they are dedicated, these software run dedicatedly on a hardware. On the other hand, we have software security solutions. Common examples are antivirus software. You install an antivirus on your computer or smartphone to detect malicious file and block them from executing. Host firewall. Unlike the firewall appliance, a hardware device, a host firewall is programmed that ships as part of your system, or it is the program that you install on your system. For instance, Microsoft Windows includes Windows Defender Firewall, and Apple includes a application firewall. Both are host firewalls. According to the Cost of Data Breach Report 2021 by IBM Security, the data breach in 2021 cost a company $4.24 million per incident on average, in comparison with 3.86 million in 2020. The average cost changes with the sector and the country. For example, the average total cost of data breach was 9.23 million for the healthcare sector, while 3.79 for the education sector. Okay, let's join this room. What type of firewall is Windows Defender Firewall? What type? A host firewall. Methodology. Every operation requires some of the planning. Actually, let's turn on the machine already so we don't have to do it later. Methodology. Every operation requires some form of planning to achieve success. If you're interested in wildlife photography, you cannot just grab the camera and head to the jungle unless you don't care about the outcome. For a safe and successful wildlife photography tour, you would need to learn more about the animals you want to shoot with your camera. This includes the habits of animals and the dangers to avoid. The same would apply to military operation against target or breaking into target network. Recon, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, actions, and objective. Oh, this is the cyber kill chain. Yes. Breaking into the target network usually includes number of system, according to Lockheed Martin. Whoa. They are very true. Even I have attacked like this before. Reconnaissance, then you do weaponization, then delivery, then exploitation. Many times, actually, you don't do exploitation, you just go to installation. This has to be a vulnerability in the system. I would also consider if a system is already, let's say, I can bypass the Windows Defender, right? Let's say I can bypass Windows Defender. Yeah, so let's say I can bypass Windows Defender, right? Let's say I can bypass it by something. So I would call that exploitation. Because if I bypassed Windows Defender, then I can install some malware. So that is the thing. The best way to bypass Windows Defender, in my opinion, is to uh, find an exclusion on the box. Find exclusion. Like if you search for shortcutting and you go to here, then you go into repositories, you will see sharp exclusion finder. This is a very great script. This will automatically find all the exclusions on the system, even if you are not administrator. And it runs on PowerShell, so it is better. So yeah, this is the best shit ever. A sharp exclusion finder. You can use this tool to find Windows dependent exclusions and then install malware exactly there. Yeah, so let's go back to the thing. Yeah. Recon, short for reconnaissance, refers to the steps where the attacker tries to learn as much as possible about the target, such as types of servers, operating system, IP address, name of the user, email, and can help the attack success. Weaponization. This step refers to preparing a file with malicious component, for example, to provide attacker with remote access. Delivery means delivering the weaponized file to the target via feasible methods such as email or USB flash memory. Exploitation. When the user opens the malicious file, their system executes a malicious component. Installation. In the previous step, it should install malware on the target system. See, the previous step should install the malware. So exploitation, exactly as I just said, many times you don't go to this, you straight go to this. See, you just go reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, and then installation. This is not exactly a part of it. In the previous step, the malware should be installed. Exactly. Command and control C2. The successful installation malware provides the attacker with a command and control ability over the target system. Actions on objective. After gaining control over one target system, the attacker has achieved their objective. One example objective is data exfiltration, stealing target's data. Another analogy would be if a thief interested in target house, the thief would spend, oh, this is the thief. Thief would spend some time learning about the target house, who lives there, when they leave, when they return home. The thief will determine whether they have security cameras, alarm system. Once enough information has been gathered, the thief will plan the best entrance strategy. Physical theft explaining and execution resemble in a way the malicious attack that aims to break into network and steal data. In the next task, we will carry out practical examples of cyber kill chain. During which step of cyber kill chain does attacker gather information? It's reconnaissance. But why is this only 4 box? Okay, we just go recon, not reconnaissance. Lol. Okay, fine. Okay, so we will try to hack into a Linux system. We assume that you have never used Linux again. So it is just nmap and then we are doing FTP. Okay, I see what is happening here. How about I just show the practical then instead of reading this, because this is the same thing I'm gonna show. So let's do it like how they have shown this. Where is this? Split view, full screen, and we have the IP address of the target machine. Yeah. So so what they're showing is they are telling us to do an nmap scan on the target, which is completed in an instant. There are a few things running. Nginx is running and FTP SSH is running, so great. We will connect to the target by by typing attack box. So let's see, FTP, right? We have done the nmap, hypertext is running. Yeah. You can nmap reports on whether this responds. Great. So let's do a FTP on this. Now it is saying what is the name you want, and they have said to use anonymous. So let's use anonymous. I put there was a space at the end, anonymous. Yeah, so login is successful. We can use ls, and we see there are some files which we can access anonymously. We try to send files using ls shortlist. If you are curious about any file, download it using get file name. I wonder what the file secret contains. Let's download it. So let's download it. Get secret. I also wanna download this. Get backup sh. We can also do buy. They have set to use buy, exit or buy to quit the FTP. So we did that. Looking at the files, there are 3 files. 2 EPUB files and 1 is sh. The first 2 extensions are the text files ebooks, while sh is the indicates that the shell script. A shell script usually contains a group of commands that need to be performed repetitively. Wow, I could not say it. After downloading the file secret with FTP command get secret exited FTP client, we return to the terminal. Let's display the contents of this. Yeah, so let's do that. We have backup. Okay, acha, this is just backing up this directory with tar. Okay. And we have secret. Password is this. Okay, great. We have the password. We have kept the password hidden, so you can try it for yourself. SSH root. See this root का ही password था ये. Wow. Okay. Root. Yes. Password. And we are root. Okay, crazy. Congratulations, you have now completed the control over target server. Let's collect couple flags. Yeah, sure. Because we are logged in at root, we have full access to the file, including other user file. Let's try to find out. What is the password? Congratulations. Yeah. We have the flag too. We will check that later. CD home containing all users. We run ls in librarian is one of the users. However, we have system administrator root to check contents of its home folder. CD this, and then that. Okay. So they are just asking us to get flags. So let's do that. CD home librarian ls flag, and we have all the flags. Are these the only flags they wanted? Contents of flag.txt, flag.txt, paste it. Oh, what the hell? Copy, paste. What is happening? Why is it not copied correctly? Okay. What is the content of librarian? Librarian account compromised. Great. We have done all of them. Introduction to defensive, we already did this. So great, we have done this finally. And they both were supposed to be around 1 hour mark, right? Introduction to offensive. Yeah, we finally did it. Great. Let's get into the dive into pen testing again. We can make a 1 hour video, of course. So penetration testing versus malicious hacking. What is penetration testing? Penetration testing or pen testing is authorized security assessment that is performed on systems, application, or networks. It is carried out with the explicit permission from the system owner within agreed boundaries. Penetration testing is important because modern systems are complex and constantly changing. These factors make it difficult for organizations to identify all weakness through design and development alone. Well-built system can also contain weakness that could expose them to attackers. A penetration test fills this gap and helps organization understand how these weaknesses could be abused, which allows them to prioritize fixes and reduce risk before the weakness can be exploited by attackers. Penetration testing is essential security service for many reasons. It ensures that organization can prioritize remediation efforts based on the level of risk associated with the weakness. It helps protect the confidentiality of system customer data, sensitive customer data, such as payment information or personally identifiable information, which ensures compliance with many regulatory firm frameworks and industry standards such as payment card, industry data security standard, and general data protection regulation. Real world attack scenarios, an assessment of overall security posture of organization ensures that security controls are effective. This process provides assurance to relationship stakeholders and customers that weaknesses are being addressed proactively. Penetration testing versus malicious hacking. While penetration testers and malicious hackers may use similar tools, the way they operate is totally different. The core factors in the table below separate penetration testing from malicious hacking. Authorization. Penetration tester operate with explicit written consent from system owner. Malicious attackers operate without consent and violate the rights and security of the organization. Scope. Penetration testers operate within a clearly defined scope that is set by organization in order to protect critical systems. Attackers are not restricted by scope and will target anything that helps them achieve their goal. Coverage. Authorization, scope, coverage, and responsibility. Coverage. Penetration testers aim for broad coverage and assess multiple areas of system. Attackers focus on the quickest or most effective path to a system and often target systems and data that can provide financial benefit. Responsibility. Penetration testers are accountable for their actions and their impact on their work and are expected to act professionally at all times. Attackers do not feel accountable for their actions and do not take responsibility for the damage they cause. Many times they do actually. They are like, "Ki, I have done this attack, we have done this attack, we are the group that have done this attack." What is the common short-term term for pen testing? Which actor aims for broad coverage, assesses multiple areas of the system? Malicious hacker. Oh, I mean penetration tester. Lol. As in multiple areas. When I heard broad coverage, I was like everything because they want to know everything, right? And what happens in penetration test is most of the time the coverage is limited. Companies say that only attack this much of our infrastructure, do not attack that much. They cut on cost by that. They save money by doing that, because if the company says that yes, attack all of the infrastructure, then the attacker will ask, penetration tester will ask for more money. So to reduce that, they think that this part of our organization is um, more secure than this part. So let's just test on that part and save some money. So that's why I thought that a malicious hacker would attack everything, but a penetration tester would only attack some part of the system. So for broad coverage is penetration tester though. So of course, which actor focuses on the quickest path to success? This is malicious hacker. Which actor? Quickest path to success. Of course, it's malicious attacker, right? Quickest attackers focus on this often target. Yeah, but see, this is the thing. Which actor focus on the quickest path of success? This is malicious actor, of course. But this does not fit it. And this is what makes me feel like they sometimes TryHackMe does this thing, and then that makes me feel different. TryHackMe. See, threat actor, but this is not. I also think threat actor, but this is not the answer. See, this is what makes me feel bad about TryHackMe. What could be the answer here? Which actor focus on the quickest? It could be threat actor, just attacker. It is fucking. See, this is also an attacker, penetration tester. This is also an attacker, a malicious attacker. See, they both are attacking the system. So this is a confusing answer. Because the answer could be threat actor, answer could be malicious hacker, just hacker, could be anything. I'm not going to cut this part of the video. This is a genuine issue with TryHackMe, that they, have this kind of questions. Penetration testing focus areas. Penetration Damn, I feel a little tired. In penetration test, coverage is critical in order to fully access the overall security posture of an organization. To achieve meaningful coverage, it's important to understand the different areas that penetration testers look at. In this task covers the area assessing when performing web application network penetration testing. Web application penetration testing. Yeah, this is very simple and it's huge. Okay, guys, I took a little break. I took a little break from all of because I got too tired. But it's fine because we are back, right? Easy. Also, this is my GitHub. You can follow me if you want. Shorting. This is my GitHub. It's I do work on it sometimes. I like it. I love it. If you wanna follow me, you can follow me. Let's go back to the video. Web application penetration testing focuses on finding gaps and weaknesses in web application. Testing is commonly performed by user perspective by interacting with the application's user interface, its API. The goal is to assess how application handle user input, authentication, authorization, session, and data processing. Weakness in web application can have great impact on its users because web application are usually exposed to the internet. The datagram above outlines a simple interaction between a penetration tester and a web application and its components. In a web application penetration test, the application is tested for weakness in different areas such as authentication, authorization, session management, input and output validation, and security configuration. Great. Authentication, authorization, session management, input. Okay. Authentication. This area evaluated for weakness in application credential handling, password policy, account lockout mechanism, multi-factor authorization, implementation, protection against automated attacks such as brute force and credential stuffing, password reset flows, and overall authentication related logics. Authorization. This area is evaluated for weakness in application access control mechanism, ensuring users can only access resources and perform actions permitted by their role. The protection against vertical and horizontal privilege escalation attacks. Session management. This area is evaluated for weakness in how sessions are created, maintained, and invalidated. This includes session fixation risk, session validation after logout, and idle timeout enforcement, secure cookie attributes, the protection against cross-site script forgery. Input and output validation. This area is evaluated for weakness in applications data handling control, including protection against injection attacks, data type validation, and output handling. Security configuration. This area is evaluated for gaps in server and application configuration, including security headers, error handling behavior, rate limiting control, cryptographic configuration, and exposure of unnecessary services or features. Network penetration testing focuses. Actually, it's crazy that we just did all of this. We already did this as practical, and we also did this as practical. So we just did all of this. This is just like a explanation to all of that. Network penetration testing focuses on finding vulnerabilities in the underlying infrastructure that connect system together. Testing could be performed from an external to internal user perspective. External network penetration testing is performed from an external user perspective with little to no access to information about extremely Externally exposed system. This type of assessment focuses on external facing infrastructure such as internet facing servers, firewall, VPN gateways, and remote access servers. The goal is to evaluate how the system are exposed and assess the security controls that protects this system against unauthorized users. Internal network penetration testing, on the other hand, is an assumed breach, is a scenario where the actor already has access to the system in the network. This type of assessment evaluates what an attacker could do next. Such a moving systems such as moving between systems, escalating privileges, or accessing sensitive data. The goal is to assess trust relationship, access control, and network segmentation separation. Segmentation to identify weak configuration and determine whether the security controls can limit the impact of the compromise. Pentester outside and inside the network, same shit. The diagram above shows a simple interaction between penetration tester and a network, both from external and internal perspective. Authentication mechanism. This area is evaluated for weakness in internal levels such as password policy, multi-factor authorization, credential reuse of default credentials, protection against attacks on services such as admin portals, VPN, SSH, authorization and access controls. This area is evaluated for weakness in network access control mechanisms, ensuring users and systems can only access resource permitted by their role trust level. Network segmentation, trust relationship. This area is evaluated for weakness in user and system trust relationship, firewall rules, and isolation controls. Configuration and patch management. This area is evaluated for gaps in device configuration and services such as use of outdated software, insecure data configuration, and weak encryption protocol. Ultimately, modern web apps and networks are built with different interconnected components and systems. Identifying the attack surface helps organization find all the entry points that could contain weakness and provide unauthorized access to threat actors. Additionally, it helps in defining the scope of the penetration test prior to engagement execution. What type of network penetration test focus on internet facing infrastructure from perspective of unauthorized user external. During testing, you discovered the session cookies remain valid after user logged out. Which testing focus? This is session management. Yes, great. Vulnerability, threat, and risk. Vulnerability, threat, and risk, core concept in cybersecurity that are commonly used together. They allow organizations to assess and manage their security concern that structure way. As penetration tester, understanding the relationship between these concepts will enable you to clearly communicate finding and significance into stakeholders. A vulnerability is a weakness or a gap. We already know this. This is why I'm pushing through this, because you already know what a vulnerability is, what a threat is, what a risk is, right? Risk management. This is very simple things. If I could not answer it, an organization patched a high severity issue that you reported. What stage of risk management cycle? This is needed. Risk management. This is mitigation, of course. But yeah, this is needed. So let's still, of course, read this. As a penetration tester, understanding relationship between vulnerability is a weakness or a gap in organization's environment that could be exploited to compromise the security of system, data, or operation. While it does not cause harm on its own, it presents an opportunity for exploitation. Vulnerabilities come in many types. For simplicity, we'll focus on technical vulnerabilities, which are weakness in softwares, systems, or configuration that can be exploited due to coding errors, insecure settings, or flawed system design. For example, a web server running outdated software with known flaws is a vulnerability. The weakness exists, but nothing happens unless it's taken advantage of. Threat. A threat is anything that can exploit a vulnerability, can cause harm to an organization environment. It represents a source of danger that can take advantage of a weakness to compromise confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the organization system. Threats may include malicious actors such as criminals, insider threats, or tools that are used to perform automated attacks. They may also be non-malicious events like system failures, human error, or environmental incidents. For example, an attacker scanning the internet for outdated servers is a threat. They have the capability to intend to exploit the vulnerability. More recently, attackers utilize artificial intelligence to automate attacks, discover weakness at scale, or accelerate exploitation. This makes AI a significant threat in modern environments due to its capacity to increase the speed of the sophistication of the attack. Risk is the potential damage that could occur if a threat successfully exploits the vulnerability. We can determine the overall risk of a vulnerability by combining the impact and likelihood of the exploitation. In some cases, vulnerability that may look harmless could cause significant risk if it affects critical system. In contrast, a vulnerability that may look harmful could only cause minimal risk if it exists in isolated environment. The following formula is commonly used to simplify calculation: vulnerability into threat equal to risk. This formula is a simplified model intended to illustrate the relationship between the contributing factors rather than the formal risk on calculation. A vulnerability on its own does not pose a risk if there is no threat that can leverage it. Likewise, a threat cannot cause impact if there is no vulnerability to exploit. Below the practical example, how low risk is calculated. Low risk. Imagine a web application displayed detailed error messages when invalid input is submitted. Vulnerability. Verbose error messages revealing internal file path. Threat. Attackers triggering errors to gather information. Risk. Limited information disclosure that may help reconnaissance but does not directly compromise the system. This is low risk. High risk. Imagine a web app that allows user to change account parameter in a request and access other user data. IDOR. Vulnerability. Broken access control allowing unauthorized access to data. Threat. Attackers modifying request parameter to retrieve and alter sensitive user information. Risk. Exposure or manipulation of sensitive customer data leading to privacy violation, regulatory consequences. Risk management. This is what I believe is kind of important. Risk management is structured process that many organizations use to identify, evaluate, and control security risk over time. If effective risk management means understanding which risk matters the most and applying appropriate controls to eliminate or reduce their impact or likelihood. Risk management is typically an ongoing cycle consisting of four stages: identifying assets, vulnerabilities, and potential threats that could affect the organization; analysis, evaluating risk to determine the potential impact and likelihood of exploitation, which translates to the severity of each risk and helps plan remediation effects; mitigation, reducing or controlling identified risk. This may include applying security patches, strengthening access control, improving configuration, implementing monitoring tools, and redesigning insecure processes. Monitoring. Continuous monitoring of risks to ensure that the controls remain effective, new vulnerabilities are detected, and emerging threats are addressed promptly. In some cases, organization may choose to accept or transfer risk if mitigation is not practical or cost effective. Accepting risk is usually chosen if the impact is minimal, the cost of reducing the risk outweighs the benefit. See, this is the part I was trying to explain. When penetration testers are hired, but they are like, okay, this part of the organization can be exploited and we don't care about that, so we can reduce the amount of money to pay to the penetration tester, but the attacker would love to exploit that vulnerability even for a little bit of info, right? We can, like a switch, right? Let's say a switch has an RCE vulnerability, and that switch is the isolating device between the networks. So if the attacker is on one network and then they exploit some sort of SSH vulnerability or something in the switch, and they access the switch, from that particular switch they can access the other network and pivot into the other devices that are connected to the network. So this is what I meant. Yeah, transferring risk means shifting the responsibility to third parties, such as purchasing an insurance policy that would cover the cost that comes with the risk. An example where a company would accept the risk is if they discover their internal web application displays the server header. The company decides to accept the risk because the version is up to date, the web application is only exposed internally, and does not contain sensitive data. However, mitigating the risk is costly, it requires time and resources. This is true if they think, okay, the server is updated to the latest version, but the vulnerability could still be there. In contrast, an example where the company would transfer the risk is if they operate an online platform that store personal payment information of their customers. The company decides to transfer the risk by purchasing cyber insurance policy to cover the financial cost if the data breach occurs, because even though security controls are in place and effective, the risk cannot be fully removed. Would an SQL injection vulnerability present a higher risk on an external facing application or internal facing? Obviously external. This is a very simple question. Why vulnerability exists? This is obvious very much. Vulnerabilities can occur through flaws, features, or human error, which can result in compromise of data resources. Attackers can exploit one or more to achieve their goals. In this task, we cover some of the most common reasons why vulnerability exists. Human assumption. Developers who are not security aware often assume that user will use systems and when intended. Attackers intentionally challenge this assumption by using system in unintended ways to exploit weakness. For instance, a developer who assumes that users will only upload image files as their profile pictures. The lack of file validation control allows an attacker to upload malicious script, which is then executed by the server. Software bugs, programming errors can introduce unintended behavior that could pose a security risk, which may arise from logic mistakes and complete validation. A poorly written code may work as designed but could flawed if not securely coded. For instance, a web application fails to properly validate input when processing from data that interacts with a database. An attacker submits a specially crafted input that alters the SQL query, enabling them to gain unauthorized access to sensitive data. System complexity. A modern environment consists of many interconnected components such as API. Sorry for that. Such as API, microservices, database, and third-party integration. The likelihood of misconfiguration occurring in these complex environments is higher, which could lead to exploitable vulnerability. For instance, a company with multiple services integrated into their web application, like authentication provider or third-party payment processor, might overlook misconfiguration that exposes administrative API due to complexity of interaction between these components. This misconfiguration allows an attacker to access critical administrative API that were not meant to be exposed. Over customization, extensive customization of software or workflows can reduce inconsistencies and unintended security gaps. Custom features may not follow standard security practices, and heavily modified systems can be difficult to maintain, update, or patch properly. For instance, an organization that develops a custom authentication feature instead of using a standard login framework may implement their own password storage, session handling, account recovery logic in order to meet their internal requirements. However, these can be difficult to maintain over time. Customizations can become outdated and lead to insecure practices like weak hashing algorithm, inconsistent session timeouts. Technical and design flaws. Technical and design flaws could occur when security is not built into the design from the beginning. The source of these flaws may not be intentional but can pose a huge risk in organization security. For instance, implementing multi-factor authentication in existence web application, developers might implement the feature but overlook the existing design where a fully authenticated session cookie is issued before MFA's process is incomplete. Sorry, what the hell? Authenticated session cookie is issued before the MFA process is completed. The oversight allows an attacker to navigate to authenticated pages without completing MFA process. Common causes and resulting vulnerabilities. The table below maps each common cause to resulting vulnerabilities that attacker could exploit. Human assumptions, software bugs, system complexity, over customer. Yeah, we just learned all of this, right? This is just an example scenario versus the resulting effect. A developer implemented a upload resume feature in career portal without implementing guardrails. What is the reason that would cause an unrestricted file upload vulnerability? Human assumption. 100%. Yep. See, we just read this and this just comes under this. Oh, wow, they have even showed this here. Penetration tester mindset. Damn, this is too much. Technical skills alone are not enough to define proficiency of a penetration tester. While understanding how vulnerabilities can be exploited, it's important knowing how effectively execute penetration test is equally valuable. This task covers some of the behaviors and habits that can help penetration tester produce meaningful result. Good versus bad mindset. Damn. Okay, yeah. When I said damn on that video, I mean on that part, I actually like technically gave up. ठीक है, क्योंकि इसमें इशू ये है कि you do burn out. I don't know why, but I just burn out. I'm like, कि why am I doing this? Even though I like it, even though I love this, all these topics are great, but I'm like, let's just get into pen testing, man. Who will read this? But no worries, we are back. I am back. It's the same video for you guys, but I literally like left for a few days because I did not want to get into this, and because I was having a little bit of fun with my friends. But never mind that. Let's get back. ठीक है, we were at good versus bad mindset during a penetration test. This is also a thing. You have to have a good mindset to get into this, into penetration testing, into learning. Like, if you have a lazy mindset, then you will not, then you might not be able to complete this. Because pre-security and cybersecurity, by the way, pre-security, they increased this. This was not this huge back in the day, but we will also complete this one day. Same with this one. We will also complete Sec 0, CyberSec 1, Junior Penetration Tester. If I want, I might do SOC 1 too, sure, and SOC 2 someday. But because the series is very slowly going forward, I will try to keep up the pace. Okay, I'm sorry for like uh you know taking this long, but no worries, let's complete the video. Enough ranting. So, good versus bad mindset during penetration test. In order to produce meaningful results from a penetration test, it is critical to have a methodological and structural approach. In addition, the ability to adapt to changing environments is essential for maintaining quality throughout different assessments. Having a strong foundation and process not only helps achieve comprehensive coverage but also ensures that overall risk is properly assessed. A good mindset when performing penetration tests includes several qualities. The following examples highlight characteristics that expand on these qualities. Understanding the system. In most cases, systems behave differently from one another. Having a strong understanding of how the target operates will help testers plan ahead and gain the context to explore potential exploitation opportunities. Great. So, system samjho, and that will open up more opportunities. That is obvious. Attention to detail. Observing how the application behaves and noticing small differences in certain scenarios often result in impactful findings. Awesome. Constant curiosity. Constantly asking what if type of questions helps uncover many ideas that can be explored and open further opportunities to identify weakness. This is a very good point in my opinion, because throughout my hacking journey, I have always thought of, is this possible? Is this possible? This question, is this possible? That question will get you further than anyone. Because every time I was like, let's say that I have a CMD open, right? Every time I'm like, how? Like, I'm just in this CMD window, right? Uh, I have nothing. I just have this terminal, just black screen on my screen. I just have a CMD. How will I, uh, how will I get passwords from, uh, how will I get passwords from, Chrome, right? Wherever Chrome is. I don't know where Chrome is. But yeah, how will I get Chrome passwords? I just have a CMD and I want to get Chrome passwords. For example, I mean, so just getting with what if, this will help you a lot. Okay? So always think about what if, is this possible? Is that possible? Can I do this? Is this gonna happen? Yeah, so always think like that. Prioritizing critical areas. Focusing on high impact functions before lowering risk features ensure that effort is directed towards areas where security issues could cause greater business impact. Of course, thinking in context, understanding how a feature is used and what data it handles helps assess risk more accurately and allows finding to be evaluated based on real-world consequences rather than technical severity alone. Creative thinking. Hardening systems usually create an assumption that weakness may not exist. Approaching these systems with creativity allow a tester to identify weakness that could otherwise be overlooked. This approach may involve linking two vulnerabilities in order to achieve greater impact. Awesome. So basically this and this are the same point, kind of, and this is also very true. Critical areas. If there are two PCs and one PC is named exam PC, another is named admin PC. Both are important, but depending on the context, if exams are there, you might want to hack a exam PC. So yeah, that could be more critical. I'm just like, don't take this in a bad way, but I'm trying to tell you how things do work in real life. A poor mindset when performing penetration tests can reduce the quality of assessment and lead to missed or inaccurate findings. The following examples highlight characteristics that could result in unreliable testing. Rushing to exploitation. Attacking a system without understanding how it works often leads to overlooked weakness. Wait, didn't we do this? I think we did this. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think so. Because this one we did, right? It was human assumptions. Yes. Yeah, so we did not do it. Rushing to exploitation, yeah, overlooked weakness. Additionally, this approach can increase the risk of disrupting systems, which could lead to limitations in testing. Ignoring context, focusing only on technical success without considering business impact could result in findings that are lacking real world relevance. Over reliance on tools, depending too much on automated tools without proper analysis, may produce false positives or mislogic based issues that require manual testing. Making assumptions. Assuming how system functionality works without verification may cause testers to overlook important behaviors. Tunnel vision. It is easy to become fixated on one functionality, especially if tester thinks that it will lead to critical finding. This behavior typically leads to time wasted, which can reduce coverage and prevent exploration of other areas that may contain more significant weakness. This happens to me a lot, and I bet that a lot of hackers or young hackers, newbie hackers go through this tunnel vision. Always think further than you are capable of thinking. It shouldn't be just like I have port 445 open, so I will only pen test port 445. Try port 82. Okay. Blindly following a checklist while having a comprehensive checklist. By the way, I do have a checklist which I will show eventually. All useful commands for the CTF. We can use this. It's great. Eventually I will show you that whole checklist when we'll get into pen testing. So while having a comprehensive checklist is useful for ensuring full coverage, depending on it too much could reduce the tester's ability to think creatively and lead to missed opportunities for more significant findings. Additionally, it could create an assumption that testing is finished once the checklist is completed. That is not exactly true, in my opinion. I believe you can follow a checklist blindly. Just it depends on the checklist. If the checklist literally has everything, then there was nothing else to try. Because for the new things you can just then you will go into reverse engineering, right? Then you will do something extraordinary that does not come under penetration testing. So let's get into effective mindset and ineffective mindset. Effective mindset: understand the system, study how the target operates before testing. Ineffective: rushing to exploitation, attacking without understanding the system. Attention to detail: notice subtle behavior differences, ignoring context, reporting findings without business relevance. Constant curiosity: ask what if to uncover new opportunities. Over reliance on tools, missing logic flaws that require manual testing. Yeah, this is a hard one. Prioritize critical areas, focus efforts on high impact functions first, making assumptions, guessing system behavior without verification, think in context, assess risk by real world consequence, tunnel vision, fixating on one area at the cost of coverage, creative thinking, chain vulnerabilities for greater impact, blindly following a checklist, missing deeper issues outside the list. Common practices during a penetration test. Applying best practices throughout a penetration test helps maintaining consistency and improve the overall quality of the engagement. The following example highlight common habits that strengthen the testing process and the value of final results. Maintaining good notes. Yeah, this is an important one. Keeping detailed notes throughout a penetration test help a tester track their activity, findings, and observations as the assessment progress. Good notes make it easier to reproduce issues later if required and ensure that nothing important is forgotten. For instance, if a vulnerability is discovered early in the assessment, having a detailed note allowed the tester to revisit it later without repeating the entire process. Collecting evidence is similar to maintaining good notes. Collecting evidence such as screenshots, tool output, or logs supports the validity of the finding and provides clearer proof of impact. POI. Collecting evidence while testing helps save time by avoiding unnecessary reproduction of issues late during reporting, which could take a considerable amount of time. Managing time. Penetration tests are performed within fixed timelines. Managing time effectively allows a tester to balance effort across different areas to ensure that sufficient time is spent on critical functions and reporting. Instead of spending hours on low impact failure, it is better to prioritize authentication or access control functionalities where security failures would have greater impact. Additionally, working on the report as you go is a good habit that significantly helps in managing time effectively. Oftentimes, reporting effort is included in the timeline, and ensuring that it is performed within the timeline is crucial in preventing burnout and ensuring that deliverables are submitted in timely manner. One scenario where reporting as you go becomes useful is when critical findings is discovered towards the end of an engagement. Documenting new findings alongside existing ones, collecting evidence can be time consuming. This could create unnecessary pressure, especially when the engagement is about to conclude. I should take advantage of this line because I need to learn how to manage time during a pen test. Proactive communication. Maintaining proactive communication during a pen test helps keep the engagement on track by providing regular progress updates and highlighted blockers early. Communicating road blockers allow issues to be addressed as soon as possible. While no engagement is perfect, proactive communication ensures that effort can be redirected when needed, support can be provided, and overall impact on the coverage can be reduced. Staying professional. Professional behavior throughout the penetration testing lifecycle builds trust between the tester and the organization that is being assessed. Respecting scope boundaries, handling sensitive data responsibly, and conducting testing in controlled manner are some of the essential habits that maintain professionalism. Professionalism also applies when it comes to communicating a finding to stakeholders. Explaining a finding's business impact rather than just the technical details helps stakeholders understand its significance. It also reinforces the tester's credibility and reliability. What characteristics include attacking without understanding how functionality or system works? Oh, it's this one. Inef it's rushing to exploitation. Without understanding, you are just not thinking about how the system works right here. How the system works, you just go to exploitation. What common practice helps in reproducing findings later? Keeping notes, right? But then uh, you can have maintaining good notes. So yeah, keeping notes. What common best practice could help prevent blockers from impacting coverage of the penetration test? Coverage. It is managing time, right? No, it's proactive communication. Yeah. Blockers from impacting coverage, right? Yep. Blockers early. Yeah. So you talk about your penetration test before you actually do anything. So yeah. Ethics, permission, and trust, of course. This is that part with great power comes great responsibility type thing. Ethics, permission, and trust are three principles that must be taken into account in order to ensure that assessments are conducted professionally. Because penetration testing often requires access to sensitive system data, enforcing these principles is essential in protecting organizational assets and minimizing risk throughout this assessment. Following this principle ensures that activities are aligned with the organization's goals. Ethics. Ethics in penetration testing is demonstrated by responsibly assessing systems that may contain sensitive data or critical functionalities. Ethical behavior helps the penetration tester make responsible decisions throughout assessment, ensuring that actions are intentional and justified. Examples of how ethical behavior is enforced in practice during penetration test are respecting the defined scope and avoiding activities outside the authorized boundaries, avoiding action that could disrupt systems and services, handling sensitive data responsibly and only accessing data that is required to demonstrate the impact, stopping and reporting unexpected access to highlight sensitive out of scope systems, reacting Redacting sensitive data in reports to prevent unintended disclosure. Permission is EPT, we can call this. Permission in penetration testing established through the formal authorization and clearly defined scope before executing an engagement. Obtaining proper authorization ensures that all activities are approved by the organization being assessed and aligned with their expectations and goals. The following examples illustrate how permission is respected in practice during penetration test. Obtaining written authorization before initiating any test activities, defining a clear scope and adhering to agreed upon scope testing, confirming testing windows and approved method before conducting potentially disruptive action, seeking clarification when uncertainty exists about whether a system or action is in scope, pausing and notifying the organization if the activity may exceed the authorized boundaries. Never do this. I'm just kidding, but if this does happen and it is a mistake, try to avoid it. But if you can't, something happened, you might get cooked by your employer. So try not to do this one. This is a very hard and crazy one. Trust. Organizations may initially be cautious when allowing external testers to assess their systems. However, many organizations rely on independent assessment by external parties to properly evaluate and improve their security posture. Therefore, establishing trust from the very beginning is valuable. The examples below illustrate how trust can be built and maintained during a penetration test. Providing status updates periodically to reassure stakeholders that testing is progressing as planned. Being transparent about limitations, blockers, and uncertain during testing in order to receive proper assistance. Reporting findings accurately and clearly demonstrating business impact. Providing actionable recommendation that help eliminate or mitigate risk. Addressing organizational concern, prompting and adapting communication style to technical and non-technical stakeholders. Ethics, permission, and trust are principles that allow penetration testing to exist as a professional security practice. Yeah, that is very true. These principles ensure that testing is performed professionally and thoroughly, while also protecting both the tester and the system being assessed. By constantly applying these principles throughout engagement, penetration tester help preserve the credibility of penetration testing as trusted, reliable, and professional security practice. What defines boundaries during a test? Ethics? No, it's trust. Oh, it is ethics. Lol. Wait, what? Oh shit, this. What defines boundary during? Wait, let me think. Boundaries during a penetration test. Scope. What type of impact should findings demonstrate clearly? Organizational. What type of impact should findings demonstrate clearly? Business impact. Yep. What type of data must be removed from reports to prevent unintentional disclosure? Oh, we just read this. Redacted, right? Sensitive data. Great. Yeah, so because these questions are, kind of, well, you have to focus very well if you want to remember everything you just read. But this does not really matter because all you need to know is how things work. So let's do a knowledge recap. In this room, we have explored penetration testing as professional discipline that focuses on understanding systems, assessing risk, and thinking critically rather than simply exploiting vulnerabilities. Effective testing requires a context of the system that is being tested to provide meaningful results. Discovering weakness can only become significant when the business impact is clearly demonstrated. When we have also covered habits that contribute to effective testing alongside behaviors that can reduce the quality of an assessment. With the correct mindset, ethical behavior, and professional conduct, engagement can produce valuable outcomes and build trust between testers and organizations. Carry the knowledge from this room forward as you progress towards becoming a responsible penetration tester. The technical techniques that you will learn next will become far more effective when supported by the principles and approaches that were introduced in this room. Practical assessment. So let's do that. Dive into penetration testing. Before we read that, click view site. Yeah, we already know this. This happens all the time. Same thing. Profanation during assessment upon completing the task. Paste the, yeah, okay. So we'll get a flag. A penetration tester working for a cybersecurity consultancy was hired to assess the security posture of a financial technology company that recently launched a new customer web platform. The organization wants to identify weaknesses before expanding its service to a larger customer base. The tester task is to perform an authorized penetration test against externally accessible system and provide actionable recommendations to improve their security. The engagement will follow a standard penetration testing lifecycle, beginning with pre-engagement checks and scope validation, following by active testing and exploitation activities, and conducting the reporting and post-engagement communication. Throughout the assessment, the tester will encounter situations that require technical judgment, professional responsibility, and careful decision making. For each of the following scenarios, help the tester make the best professional decision in order to produce meaningful results. Alright, great. We know this. Let's dive into pen testing. A tester is scheduled to begin penetration test today. The client has not yet provided written authorization confirming permission to test. What should the tester do? Wait until written authorization is received before performing in testing. Start testing but avoid exploitation. Follow up with the client but begin testing anyway to save time. Perform passive reconnaissance only until approval arrives. Obviously not just chill out, don't do anything. Before launching scans, the tester notices an additional domain belonging to the client that is not listed in the scope document. Test the domain since it belongs to the same organization. Perform limited enumeration to confirm risk exposure. Request clarification from the client before interacting with the domain. Ignore documentation and test all discovered assets. Of course not. Let's request some. Can we go back? No. The tester plans to run. Let's do full screen. The tester wants to run automated vulnerability scans against production web app during business hours. What should a tester do first? Reduce scan speed slightly and proceed immediately. Confirm approved testing window and scan intensely. Okay, that is crazy. It is intensely, but it feels like intensely. Confirm approved testing windows and scan intensely with the client. Run the scan using aggressive settings. Wow. Run scans quietly without notifying anyone. Of course, you confirm the approved testing windows and then you scan. It could also be the first one, but I'm guessing that one. During testing, the tester gains administrative access to application that can view customer data. What is the best decision? Download the full database to demonstrate impact, capture minimal evidence required to prove admin access to stop further interaction, explore all available data to identify additional risk, modify records to demonstrate full control. Of course, just get minimal evidence. While attempting exploitation, the tester realizes that continuing the attack could cause the application to crash or disrupt business operation. What should a tester do? Proceed with the exploitation outside peak hours without informing anyone. Continuing exploitation carefully to complete validation. Pause testing and seek client approval before continuing. Attempt to exploit quickly to minimize potential disruption. Obviously, you pause and then you ask the client if we should continue. The tester discovers credential that appears to grant access to another internal system not included in the scope. What is the most appropriate action? Test briefly and exclude results from the report. Perform read-only access testing. Document the finding and notify the client without accessing the system. Attempt to log in whether access works. No, just document it. While preparing the report, the tester notices one vulnerability that could not be fully validated due to time constraint. What should a tester do? Increase severity to encourage remediation. Wait, let me read again. While preparing the report, tester noticed the vulnerability could not be fully validated. Okay, time की वजह से नहीं हो पाया. Increase severity to encourage remediation. No. Exclude it entirely from the report. No. Report it as confirmed to ensure visibility. No. Document it clearly, partially validated. Yes. After delivering the final report, the client asks the tester to clarify severe findings and provide guidance on remediation steps. What is the best action for the tester? Provide clarification and assist the client in understanding remediation recommendation. This looks like the right answer. Inform the client that the engagement has ended and additional support requires new contract. Obviously, no. Direct the client to publicly available security document instead. That would be a cheap move. Share only the report again without further explanation. Of course not. Let's do that. Hey, and every single answer was right. That is amazing. Let's copy this. Dive into pen testing. Let's exit. Awesome. Every single answer was right. We did great. Amazing. Let's go. Yeah, so that was our video on dive into pen testing. That was dive into pen testing. That is great. So finally it's completed. Dive into pen testing was so huge only because of introduction to offensive security. That was crazy. But nice, we did it, people. Do like the video if you liked it. If not, then no worries. But yeah, tomorrow we will get into cyber kill chain. I might upload both the videos at once because I wasted a few days. So yeah,